Live on WFLA now. Feel good and live your best life with Bloom Health Club. Here's Gail Guayardo.
The secret to a great night's sleep could be understanding your sleep type. Are you a bear, lion, or wolf? That's the title of a new book out. And today we are talking to the author, Olivia Arezzolo. Olivia, thank you so much for joining the Bloom Health Club.
Thank you for having me.
So, Olivia, talk to me a little bit about our sleep types. I mean, how do you know whether you're a bear, a lion, or a wolf?
Okay, so your sleep type is also known as your chronotype, which is your circadian rhythms typology. So if you have an early phase, you like to go to bed early and wake up early, and that makes you a lion. But if you're on the other end of the spectrum and you love to stay up late and sleep in, you are a wolf. And if you're neither here nor there, but you need lots and lots of sleep, you are a bear. There is a more detailed quiz in the book, but for your listeners, that is a very easy way to understand, okay, so when I'm given the choice, when do I like to go to sleep? And according to that, what chronotype will I be?
Okay, so when you say circadian rhythm, I mean, we hear that a lot in the sleep world. You know, you might even wear an Oura ring or another device that monitors your sleep, but do you really need a device to figure it out, or you just follow the bear, lion, or wolf, guide?
Yeah, so I feel like the guide of having bear, lion, wolf, that's specific enough. In terms of the actual, trackers like the Oura ring, things like that, that really measures the depth of your sleep and how many times you're waking up, for example, and how much REM sleep. To my knowledge, there's no tracker that indicates your chronotype.
Okay, good to know. All right, I was just curious. So I want to introduce into the conversation Brody Waddell. I know he wrote an article about you, which is now on bloomtampabay.com. And did you take the quiz? Are you a bear, a lion, or a wolf, Brody?
I did, and I think I'm probably a bear.
Really?
I always tell people, I'm like, if I can get my 9 hours, like I'm good. I'm pretty much good to go. But I've had to operate at all hours of the day and night. I've worked overnights. I've worked days, afternoons, and I've always actually been able to remarkably well adjust. So I find that interesting.
That is really interesting. I feel like with bears, if they get their 9 hours of sleep, then they're very adaptable.
Mm-hmm.
But
If
take away their 9 hours, give them even 8 hours. We have that belief that 8 hours is sufficient. If you're a bear, 8 hours is not enough sleep for you. And if you're then required to work and operate productively at all hours, that is just not going to work unless you've really had your 9 hours.
Oh yeah, I had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
So once you figure out what you are, and again, there's a quiz that's in the book, and then of course, you could just by hearing it, you might be like, oh, I am a bear, I'm definitely a lion or a wolf. Once you find out that information, what do you do with it?
Okay, so you've identified you are, let's say you're a bear. Then there's a chapter in the book that is all around bear sleep strategies. And I'll run you through them just in case, you're not reading the book right now. So one of the fundamentals is to have a quality bedtime routine. And I have this signature bedtime routine that is similar for all chronotypes, but there are certain characteristics that lend themselves to each different, sleep type. So for example, block out blue light before bed. You might wear blue light blocking glasses. These have been found in clinical studies to reduce nighttime wakings by 62%, which is huge because a lot of people are really struggling with nighttime wakings. Another really great sleep strategy for bears is to use lavender in their bedtime routine. Grandma's oldest trick, it actually works. So how this works is because it activates our parasympathetic nervous system, which naturally helps us feel more calm, can reduce anxiety, and as a result can help with sleep. So that's just two of the many, many sleep strategies that, you can, that I've shared and, is applicable to bears. But let's say, for example, you're a wolf. You are struggling to get to bed early enough because naturally you really want to stay up late and you want to sleep in late. But the thing is that you can't because you have to get up at, 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning for work and life activities, right? But you're not in bed until midnight because you're simply super alert and super energetic in the evening. What do you do? Okay, one of the best things you can do is not sleep in. I know it is so tempting, and you're probably thinking, yeah, but wouldn't that be a good thing? I'm going to catch up on my sleep. But actually, if you sleep in, you further desynchronize your circadian rhythm. So come Monday morning, when you've got to get up at your normal time again, you're going to find yourself super, super exhausted because your melatonin levels are higher in the morning if you have slept in the previous morning. So how would you manage that? Definitely taking a nap is one of the best strategies I can recommend, especially for those who are wolves and especially for those who are chronically lacking sleep. And so you want to have that nap. Keep it less than 30 minutes, keep it short. 2, keep it dark, use an eye mask. And 3, keep it early, finish the nap before 3:30. Now, that is super, super crucial for wolves because they're often super, super sleep deprived.
Very interesting. Now, I know you're considered a leading sleep expert. How did you wander your way into this?
So it really traces back to when I was 17 and I made the commitment and the mission to help everyone feel their best inside and out. I went through my own really challenging health journey as a teen, severely depressed and hospitalized, severely anorexic and hospitalized. Now, overcoming that, it was tough. And only through that, that process, you have to identify, okay, well, what am I going to do in my life? And why am I here? And why am I going through this? And what is all this about, right? And so I identified, okay, I have gone through this challenging time so I can help other people overcome it themselves because I know how bad it can be, but also I know how good it can be. So that was the initial. And then I thought, okay, well, it's great to have a mission, but I have to have studies. I have to have an understanding of health and wellness. So I studied for 9 years, psychology, sleep psychology, nutrition and fitness. So I genuinely knew how to improve health and wellness, how to help everyone feel their best inside and out.
And you really believe that all of us, even a naysayer like myself, can get a good night's sleep.
100%. Yes.
Really?
The thing is that, yes, genes play a certain role in our sleep patterns and our sleep capacity, but the actual level is maybe 10, 15%. The rest is what we are doing, our environment. What are we doing before bed? What are we eating? How are we managing our stress? What sleep supplements are we taking? Are we taking any pharmaceuticals that may desynchronize our sleep further? For example, sleeping pills. Sure, they're all good and well when you're having them, but actually they do horrendous things to the circadian rhythm and destabilize it. So basically, your sleep might be great on the night that you've got a sleeping pill, but in the nights following, not so much.
Does that include over-the-counter stuff? Over the counters, like a sleep aid?
Yeah.
Something that looks blue and gel-like that I may or may not take?
So it would, I'm not familiar with every single sleep aid in the collection of sleep aids. But what I do know is benzodiazepines, which are typical of many, many sleep aids. These are the ones that really cause problems. See, what happens is the body doesn't detoxify from benzodiazepines fully. So over time, the more you have, the more fatigued you are through the day because it just builds up and you struggle to actually detoxify from it. And so then you need to have more and more because you're exhausted through the day, but you're not getting that naturalistic sleep in the evening. It's just like sleeping almost as if you were drunk. You're not actually sleeping. You don't go through the deep sleep, into the slow wave sleep, into the REM sleep as you're designed to do. Therefore, you wake up and you're feeling super exhausted still.
And plus, these sleep medications, they were never designed for the long term.
Definitely
They were
not.
supposed to get you over humps. And I think in this country, because we're so sleep deprived and we're so desperate for a good night's sleep, that it's easy to get addicted to these types of medications. And I was prescribed a benzo myself, and it was terrible. I hated it. I hated the way it made me feel the next day. So I weaned off, and I'm not a fan. Prescriptions just don't work for me. But I am one of those people that I think, I wonder, is it hormonal or what it is? But I do wake up in the night quite often, whether for an hour or two, and I have fragmented sleep, and I don't think I'm alone in that. What happens if you are dealing with that?
Okay, so first, I'm sorry to hear that because it's awful and so many people are struggling with this. Actually, it's the number one thing that people are struggling with. Waking up through the night, being unable to go back to sleep. Why does it happen in the first place? Okay, so through the night around 3 a.m., we have a rise in cortisol. Cortisol is an awakening hormone that prepares our body to be awake and alert that morning. Now, 3 a.m. is often the time people say, yes, that's when I wake up.
That's when I wake up.
Right?
How did you know, Olivia?
Because that's when your circadian rhythm naturally produces cortisol. This is very normal. But if your baseline levels of cortisol are too high, and this can be through a lot of stress throughout the day. It can be through excessive blue light before bed. Maybe you're watching a screen. Maybe you're watching a phone. Maybe you are watching TV. Maybe you've just got overhead lights on. That can be enough to raise your cortisol levels, that through the evening, what happens is when you get that elevation that naturally happens, it's so elevated that you wake from sleep. Now, this is particularly problematic if you are getting insufficient sleep, because when you have insufficient sleep, there is a dysfunction in a region called the HPA axis, which is responsible for cortisol release. And so instead of producing your natural amount, you'll produce more. So that is sort of the backstory about why it might be happening. So basically a lot of stress, and that might be through, psychological stress, but maybe stress on the body. Maybe you're not eating right. Maybe you're drinking. Maybe you aren't sleeping enough. So stress has many forms. And it also is largely to do with how much blue light you're having before bed. That's really, really triggering. But how to manage this, right?
Yeah, right. And that's what your book helps us do.
Yes, but I'll share it with you now because I'm
right.
sure so many people are thinking, yeah, but like, what do I do when
Yes.
I'm waking up, right? Okay, my 4-step plan. If you're awake more than 20 minutes in bed, ruminating, get up out of bed. Step 2, go into the lounge, keep minimal lights on, no lights on if possible, and make sure that you don't use any devices. No TVs, no laptops, no screens, please.
I was going to say, that doesn't mean when I get up, I can't stream Geek Girl on Netflix.
I'm sorry, you cannot stream Geek Girl. The sleep expert has spoken. No Geek Girl at 3 a.m., please.
Darn
No
it.
fun allowed.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do instead? Okay, the last thing you want to do is just sit there ruminating with your thoughts. You're going to drive yourself crazy and you're not going to go back to sleep. So you need to provide something that focuses your attention. Reading. This has been found to reduce stress by 68% with the effect starting in just 6 minutes. Or you can meditate. Meditating helps us lower cortisol and increases theta waves, which are calming brain waves, which are more conducive to getting back to sleep. Or you can listen to calming music. Me personally, I love rain sounds, ocean sounds, sends me to sleep. But actually this works in your brain as well, because just like meditation, calming sounds, ocean, rain, static even, this slows our brain waves into a more rhythmic pattern, which allows us to fall asleep easier. So that's step 3, what you're actually going to do when you're awake. And then when you are just about to fall asleep, that's when you go back to bed.
Gotcha. What about, I have gotten up in the past and listened to sleep hypnosis. I stumbled upon this lady named Tansy Forrest on YouTube. and she can lull you back to sleep, or maybe I was just extra tired, but that helped for a while. Do you think that could help? Just like listening to a calming voice?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, it's the thing is that the brain needs something to focus on. It's a stimulus because then it allows our brain waves to come into a rhythmic pattern. And this is conducive with sleep. When we are in a really hyperactive, racing mind, we're thinking about what happened yesterday. Then we're thinking about what happened when we were 8 years old and we told the teacher that, like all these crazy thoughts. And then we're thinking about, what's happening next year. And the brain waves are all over the place. This is not conducive with returning to sleep. And it's definitely not conducive with feeling relaxed in order to get to sleep.
Great advice. Bertie, I know you had questions about maybe why another animal isn't included in this book.
Yeah, that's true. In my research, I saw that they also do the phenotype of dolphin. Why have you left that out? What's up with that?
And what is the dolphin all about?
Yeah. What is it all about?
So the dolphin was personified by one of the, in my opinion, greatest sleep experts in our current time, Dr. Michael Bruce. So he identified through working with his patients that there were people who didn't really fit into categories of bear, lion, or wolf. And so basically you had an insomniac style person. They were very, very active for short periods of time, but they often had erratic sleep patterns. They had no seeming rhythm. That is a dolphin. And why I personally didn't write about the dolphin is because I based my research into the book into the MEQ, which is a questionnaire which basically categorizes your circadian rhythm based on how early and how late it is. So basically, it's just a different research method.
And the dolphin, just to talk about, the dolphin's that person that can function on 2 hours of sleep. Very little.
Napping.
The dolphin periodically functions, and I use the word function. I mean, they're awake, but are they thriving? No. Typically, dolphins are the insomniacs. So, yes, they are functioning, they're alive, but they're not doing well. They're often struggling with extreme sleep deprivation, anxiety, mood disorders like depression, struggling to have a healthy functioning body, because the thing is, when you're lacking sleep, all of these consequential health problems happen, like type 2 diabetes and an increased risk of hypertension, increased risk of heart disease. There's all of these carryover effects that happens with lack of sleep that is very typical of a dolphin. So both physically and mentally.
How does DNA, because Bertie and I are convinced we would have survived back in the caveman days. Because we're light sleepers.
Yeah, very light.
And it even said on my DNA report, the 23andMe, it was like, you're a light sleeper girl. It didn't say it in those words, but it said it.
Anything can like wake me up. Like somebody talking, like if you're sleeping with somebody, them rolling over, anything. Like
I think so. A lot of people do ask me this, and why are some people light sleepers and why are some people dark sleepers? Sorry, deep sleeper.
They go to a dark place.
Yeah, I'm like, ooh.
Right?
Nightmares.
Right? So essentially there is what you are doing in terms of your sleep strategies will dictate the quality of your sleep. Now, remember I did mention genetics plays a role. So 10 to 15% of how you experience your sleep, including how long you sleep, including how deep you sleep, that will be through genetics. But the other 85 to 90% is what sleep strategies are supporting your sleep and what sleep strategies are sabotaging your sleep. So do you have a quality bedtime routine that minimizes light? Are you having a shower before bed that can optimize melatonin production? Are you having natural sleep supplements, not the pharmaceuticals, but natural sleep supplements like magnesium, like ashwagandha, like reishi mushrooms and lion's mane mushrooms, omega-3s, CBD, things like this can actually support your sleep. Are you having, a diet which supports sleep, rich in magnesium, rich in melatonin producing, foods? Tart cherry is one of the best sleep supplements or, foods for sleep because it's one of the most abundant sources in melatonin. You know that
Sleepy
viral
Girl cocktail.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
yes.
Yeah, my
That-
girlfriend's been doing that. She's like, you should
Right?
drink this cherry juice with me. I'm like, I have no problem falling asleep. I don't
Really?
drink some
Right?
cherry
I've
juice.
tried them. They're very good. We had
Yeah.
someone make them on Bloom a couple times, and they're tasty. And there's ways to source this organic tart
Yeah.
cherry juice.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
stuff.
So it's actually like a lot of people say, does it actually work? No, it's actually, there's a lot of clinical validity to it. Basically, for anyone who's unfamiliar, Sleepy Girl mocktail is a combination of tart cherry juice plus magnesium plus soda. Now, I would personally take out the soda because that might irritate some people, and last thing you want
So
to
how do you make your Sleepy Girl mocktail? And I said that with an M, mocktail.
Yeah, mocktail.
So, you would really follow the directions on the, the label, but also take into account what your health practitioner is saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So looping this all back into, why you a light sleeper and why you a dark sleeper. So deep sleeper, deep and dark sleeper.
We don't want Freddy Krueger in there.
Right. I
Right?
know.
Right. Okay, so are you doing all of these things? Because, I wrote 60,000 words about different sleep strategies that you can use. And you may be using some of these, but based on my research, there are literally like hundreds of things you can do to improve your sleep that is going to result in you being a deep sleeper, not only a dark sleeper, but a deep sleeper. And if you are doing that and you're limiting the sleep saboteurs, you're limiting your alcohol, you're limiting caffeine after 12 p.m., you're limiting your intake of sugar, you're limiting light, you're limiting, technology in the bedroom, and so many more things that are sleep saboteurs. So if you do enough of the right things and you avoid the wrong things, then eventually you'll move over from being a naturally light sleeper into a deep sleeper.
Interesting. Yeah, I do a lot of those things you talk about, except for like the technology and things like that. So that might be
That one's
Yeah.
hard. What if
one
I'm
of the
wearing
things I
my
have to do.
blue blockers? Can I still?
Okay. So the blue blockers are effective, but the thing is that especially social media, it's still one of the most addictive forms of technology and highly stimulating for the brain. So even if you are mitigating the effects of blue light, which is something that I do actually recommend, wearing blue blockers, super, super helpful. But this doesn't mean that you can, go to town on your
Social
TV
media
and
or
social
TV.
media.
scroll on
Yeah.
TikTok,
I do wear
Right.
I wear the blue blockers at night and the hater blockers by day.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw in a bad
Right, that was
joke.
a good one, yeah.
Any other questions for Olivia?
Why do some people seem to not really need a lot of sleep? And why do they
Yeah.
just sleep better? For instance, my dad, he tells me all the time, he's like, I only need like 6 hours. I'm fine. But he's also told me that like when he was like 20 or 24 years old, he read about some sleep technique to where as soon as he puts his head on the pillow, he can fall asleep every time he goes to bed. He says he's been doing it for 20 years now and it works. And I'm like, you are out of your mind, dude. I wish I could do that. And
Did he
secondly,
share it
how do
with
sleep
you?
for-
Yeah, right. I'm
he
dying
did,
to know.
He did tell me what it was, like, but I don't remember it. I don't recall it now.
Brody.
But it was basically something where like you think about something or you like you basically hypnotize yourself. And he's gotten so good at it, he can do it like immediately. And technique, like I don't know how validity to that. Like my stepmom says he sleeps like a rock, and he obviously gets his sleep work.
Yeah. Okay, there's a lot in that question, so so bear with me. So some people needing 6 hours of sleep or less sleep. So your chronotype indicates how much sleep you need. 95% of the population will need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Now, within that bracket, lions need 7 hours of sleep, bears need 9 hours, wolves need 8 hours. Now, there is still the 5% that everyone thinks they're part of that needs less and more. But also, you mentioned that he functions on 6 hours of sleep. Functioning is not thriving. Functioning is not being your best self. It is not arriving at every day being focused and fresh and rejuvenated and rested, which is essentially what you want sleep to do. And that's what a quality night's sleep can do for you. So that's that taken out of the equation. With regards to, sleep hypnosis being effective, yeah, it's definitely possible. I personally haven't done a lot of research into the different methods or the different, the research validity, but I know that there is research that indicates it can support sleep. And another factor in here is he truly believes that this allows him to fall asleep with ease. So placebo effect in research is the most reliable of all. So
It's like your dad's taking a sugar pill every night.
Right.
Something.
Yeah,
If
the
he says to
placebo
him-
effect.
If he says to himself, I am going to fall asleep because I'm doing my hypnosis, and he's told himself that for 20 years, oh, you better believe that his brain believes he's going to fall asleep,
Yeah.
right?
That's
Just right out
interesting.
there.
I'm going to start telling myself that.
I know. Maybe that's what I need to do too.
You should bring your dad in on the show.
I know. He'd be a great guest.
You would.
I think he does. That's crazy. One other thing I have before we wrap up. What effect is I know some people just struggle to shut their brain off at night, and so they'll use substances that aren't sleeping pills. They're drinking, they're drugging, stuff like that. What effect does that have on the long term? And why does it seem like some people that's just what they have to do?
So I would say that most people who are drinking and maybe they're using marijuana or, other substances, they're simply at the end of their tether. They have tried everything that they know and nothing's working. And because I really, just like you mentioned before, I don't believe that anyone wants to take substances. I really believe everyone is absolutely exhausted. Their brain won't shut off. And that's the only thing they know. So that's one thing. But what are the consequences of alcohol, for example? So alcohol is a potent suppressor of REM sleep. REM sleep is our deepest sleep stage and is responsible for memory consolidation and emotional regulation. And so what they've actually found in the research is because of that REM suppression, often long-term alcohol use before bed results in memory loss and results in mental health issues, depression, anxiety, bipolar. They're all correlational. And so, in terms of marijuana, they basically have pronounced slow wave sleep, but it's not naturalistic slow wave sleep. So you don't actually get the benefits of deep sleep. It's just like you're almost knocked unconscious. So they have other health concerns, but basically they're very similar to having lack of sleep in themselves. So it might be, again, mental health problems, physical health problems, cognitive problems. They're unable to think straight because remember, one of the key roles in sleep is that it helps the brain detoxify from beta amyloid, which is a neurotoxin which otherwise leads to brain fog and memory loss. And so if you're not getting into your deep sleep, your slow wave sleep, your REM sleep, you don't experience this detoxification process. And so you wake up and you're super, super foggy in the morning and you can't string a sentence together and you can't think straight. And this is for people who are getting not enough sleep, but also for people who are getting poor quality sleep, which might be because they're taking substances, maybe they're drinking before bed, or maybe they're just super, super stressed and they're unable to get deep sleep.
Interesting.
So much to this. I mean,
Yeah.
we could unpack this all day long,
All
but
right.
in the meantime, if you want the secret to a great night's sleep, you should definitely check out Bear, Lion, or Wolf, how understanding your sleep type could change your life. So I'm going to be taking the quiz. Thank you so much, Olivia.
Such a pleasure. Lovely to see you.
Thank you. It's been great. Until next time, everybody.